the Serrano Consultant Advocate Service, serranoadvocate.com, excuse me. And last week we talked about some acronyms for IEPs, and today we're going to actually just talk about some of the acronyms in an IEP and what types of services and formats you will see inside an IEP. So today, let's just get started. So our first one is a prior written notice. Okay, I put it first, but that won't be the first thing you'll see in the mail. A prior written notice usually comes after an IEP meeting. The first thing you'll see in the mail is a IEP meeting notice. So you should get a reminder when your IEP is due. According to the meeting, you should get one in the mail or via email. Then after the IEP is done and all of the things are put into place, you will get a prior written notice, a PWN, and that'll come in the mail or email as well. Our next one is MET. Often we call it a MET meeting. It is a multidisciplinary evaluation team. Therefore, parents, school psychologists, teachers, principals, assistant principals, any other physical therapy, any related services, such as physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech and language. We all come together and have a meeting, and we discover whether the student or not is eligible for an IEP. If they are not, we usually encourage a 504. And we'll talk a little bit about that at another setting. Today is strictly an IEP meeting. When you arrive at your meeting, you will have several educators sitting at the table. Again, at a IEP meeting, individual education meeting, you will see your child's teachers. You will see evaluation people, as far as often your school psychologist is there. And sometimes they're not. It's not a requirement for them to be there. Sometimes the nurse, if your child requires some kind of medical medication or something to that degree, you will get a nurse present. And then your principal and all the people, your special education teacher, all the people that are involved in that meeting will come forth. The first thing, when you get your copy of your IEP meeting or IEP, you should get it usually a week ahead of time. That's the requirement. And if you can get it a week ahead of time, it is a draft. It is put together for your child. And here's some of the elements that you will see. A PL or a PLAA. So you will find usually at the beginning of your IEP is a present level, and the PLAA is present level of academic achievement. So in that first section, you should see a quick summary of what your child will receive as far as special education services, and then the next portion will be all of the academics, math, reading, writing. Where are they at? What grade level are they at? What are some strengths that they have? What are some weaknesses that are needed? You will see at that point as well, you will see all the state and district test results. So you'll know when you go into that meeting exactly where your child is at according to the special education team and the general education team. That's where the general education and the special education teachers work very, very well together. You will see an executive function section. Now, what does executive function mean? It has to do with mental skills, memory, memory, flexible thinking, self-control. Children sometimes have a difficulty following directions, remembering that sequence. First, we need to pick up our toys. Second, we need to go to the bathroom. Third, we need to remember to wash our hands after the bathroom. So those sequencing events that can happen in your life, in your child's life. So that is executive functioning, and you will see where your child falls within that range as well. You'll also see a section on social emotional learning. What does his behavior look like in the classroom? What are some of his strengths? Does he talk to teachers? Does he talk to his friends? Does he play together with others on the playground? All of those elements will be inside the social emotional learning. Again, I stated these earlier. PT is physical therapy, OT is occupational therapy, and speech and language is SL is speech and language. So those elements will be inside the IEP as well. Where does your child fall? Are they eligible for some of these skills? Maybe they have physical difficulty getting around. For example, maybe they need a walker. You'll hear more about from the physical therapist, what your child is up to. Then you'll find goals. What does it mean, goals? Goals talk about what do you want, your child is here, okay, you know their present level already, but you want to get them over here. So, for example, Joey needs to learn his multiplication tables, okay? So a goal would say by the annual IEP, Joey will know 5s, 6s, 7s of his multiplication tables, and then you'll have a measurement. Will be measured by teacher assessments, observation, and then you'll have remember 5, 6, and 7s. He'll get a target. So 5, 6, and 7s will be approximately, let's say, 80% of 5, 6, and 7s, and you're looking at the end of a year from then. So, you know, you might want to throw in some short-term objectives. You might see some of those by the end of the quarter. They'll know their 6s. By the end of the next quarter, they'll know their 7s. And again, that's looking in the amount of time. So some of those goals, you will have some of those goals inside an IEP. You will also have accommodations and modifications. What is an accommodation? Accommodation looks like, let's say Joey needs more time on his test, or Joey needs to take his test on his own, where he's quiet, one-on-one, or Joey takes his test in a small group. So those are accommodations. Some other accommodations, Joey will use a rubric in order to write a paragraph. Joey will use a graphic organizer in order to write a list. Joey will use more time reading out loud with the special education teacher for 5 minutes or so. Just depends on whatever your child needs for that accommodation. And maybe your child needs a fidget, remember those little fidgets that swirl around, something like that, or a soft squeezy ball. So those go in accommodations. Remember, we talked about previously the difference between accommodations and modification. Modification basically changes the curriculum slightly. So you might say, instead of doing 10 work problems, Joey will put together a diorama, or Joey will work together with a group to form a diorama. And just that little bit of curriculum change often works for modification. You'll have service minutes. How many minutes will your child receive special education? They like to keep a child in the general education as much as possible. So you might have a stipulation on your child where it says the child is going to stay in core instruction and only be serviced when at the end of the instruction where they are doing independent skills or independent work. And then finally you will have a specially designed instruction. And a specially designed instruction is also found within the service minutes, and what it specifically states is, how will Joey be taught his goal? For example, let's go back to the multiplication tables. Joey will be taught his multiplication tables in a small group with direct instruction. That's a specifically designed instruction, an SDI. And all IEPs need to have that, so you can actually see what the teacher is doing with Joey during that time frame. Also, you'll have, again, like I said, a nursing page if need be. Special education transportation will be in there as well. Any organizational skills also falls under executive functioning. So somebody with ADD cannot remember to write down the assignment for the next day. So you'll either provide a note or you give extra time so that they can write the assignment down. Then at the end of the day, they go to a teacher, and the teacher checks to make sure all of the materials are in the backpack, all of the materials are ready to go for the next day so they can go home and do some simple homework. So that's what it's inside of an IEP. It can be pretty complicated. You need to have your child's needs met. If you have any questions, please contact me. My phone number is on my website at serranoadvocate.com.